we got? Western Conference coming up next? Oh, shit.
Growing up in Pittsburgh, it was a good time, but you know, I'm an '80s baby, so I'm growing up in the height of the crack era. So I've literally seen family members of mine go from just being regular, normal people to being dope fiends that you see on the street. Just being in the Bay Area, the history of the Black Panthers, the history of hippies, just the Bay Area being a place that celebrates independent thought. Pretty much everybody related out here, the McCrees. It was the first black family in Pittsburgh. When I was 7, unfortunately, my father passed away. He had congestive heart failure, which is unfortunately something that a few of my family members have actually succumbed to. My mother, she raised me as a single mother out here, me and my 2 sisters. You know, I think after my pops died, she really started to develop that hustle.
She was dope, for real. She went to school, she had a job, she raised us in a nice, you know, somewhat livable areas.
Of course, you see a lot of wild shit just growing up in the Bay Area.
It was crazy, I ain't gonna lie. Like in the early 90s, it was dope fiends everywhere. It's just like Oakland or San Francisco or any black city.
A lot of underachievement, there's a lot of hating. I could just keep it a buck with you.
Drug dealing. I done seen people get killed, brains blown out in front of me, like as a kid.
What don't kill you make you stronger. I feel like you can make it in the Bay Area, you can survive this shit out here, you can survive anything. What made me get into music initially was my mother. God rest her soul. She made me get into the choir at church. She forced me every Sunday to sing in the choir, and she used to say it looked like I was up there chewing gum because I was lip syncing out of protesting because I didn't want to be up there.
My mother's met through, I think that was Solomon Temple Baptist Church up there in Pittsburgh, California.
I mean, you know, I'm a tall, skinny nigga from out here, so every tall, skinny nigga think they finna be Michael Jordan, you know? Sometimes I dream that he is me, but you know, apparently you need a jump shot to make it to the NBA. When I was in high school, I actually got cut from the basketball team. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. So they had some conditioning drills, and I actually felt sick. I didn't do any conditioning drills to get ready for the tryouts, which is fucking stupid on my part. I went outside and I felt sick and I was finna throw up, and then didn't go back into the practice. One of my homeboys came out, threw up, went right back in. He made it. And this nigga was hella weak. The coach actually told one of my other partners, Kev was actually really talented, but the reason why he didn't make the team is because he gave up. That kind of stuck with me. Like, you don't have to necessarily be the most talented, you just can't give up.
Kevin was always his own person. He didn't ever do what was everybody expected us to do. And I respected him for that.
I mean, he used to draw all kind of stuff when he was younger, from Ninja Turtles, X-Men, all kind of stuff, man. You can really draw really good, too.
He's always been a driven person.
Always is on to something, and sometimes you just have to follow with whatever it is he's doing, because he catches on and he locks in.
Growing up, well, as you know, we lived over there, and then my grandpa was on this street, my uncle was like 5 houses down. On the corner was my other uncle.
He looked up to Uncle Carl. You know, Uncle Carl, he was the OG. I had my Uncle Neil, you know what I'm saying? So both of our uncles is like our role models. Uncle Carl was laid back. He was into music and sports. You know what I'm saying? He used to coach football. You know, he always used to have the nice rides with the music in it, with the gold rims on the Mustang. Like, you know, he was laid back, but at the same time, you know, he was flashy a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when he hopped in his whip, you knew it was Uncle Carl coming down the street, though. So, you know, rest in peace, Uncle Carl. Good dude.
Uncle Carl to Kevin was an influencer, I believe, to his music as well. Kevin always talked about Carl and music he used to play in the car.
My Uncle Carl was an R&B dude. Big, fat, smooth nigga. He thought he was a dark-skinned Heavy D or somebody like that. He was really tapped into that. The first time I ever heard Erykah Badu was in his car. First time I ever heard Jill Scott. Like, he really liked like soul singers. My first musical inspiration. He was the first person I ever seen that was going to the studio, that was producing songs, had a studio at his house. That was the first beats that I was making, was at his house. You know, just watching him and being excited about his music. He used to have an old school, he always had just clean ass cars with, you know, with the candy paint and all that. Once he got that 50, You couldn't tell him shit. He was riding up and down all these blocks, knocking pictures off the wall. I always knew I wanted that feeling. Like when it came to music, I always chased a feeling. It was never really about money. Shit, I ain't never made none, so it could have been about no money. It was more so about just recreating that feeling that I had with my uncle. One thing I learned from him is working with artists is risky, because you can put your all into somebody. You can put all your belief into somebody, all your money. They don't believe in themselves, or if they inconsistent, if they work habits ain't the one, if shit, they develop drug habits or whatever happens, all of your hard work is gone.
Everybody got an uncle like that in their family that's just super cool, super knowledgeable, always giving advice, you know, always lending a helping hand. If you was ever jammed and you went to Uncle Carl, he's not going to deny you.
He was my coach at one point in time, played baseball. You know, he was with the music too. And he always had people at the house slapping music, singers coming through, coming by, singing at birthday parties.
He always opened his home to all of us as if we lived there. So he was a man that was beyond reproach, a real man, and we learned a lot about what it means to be a family man from Uncle Carl.
Influencing Kevin's life, Uncle Willie was cool, but he was about his business, and he was serious about his family.
My mama had a bunch of old school tapes, vinyl records. Man, we grew up on good music, for real, for real.
I think it's a mixture, right? You have the Bay Area influence. I know my figures influenced everybody in Pittsburgh, right? We took something from that.
My mom only listened to two people, Tremaine Hawkins and Whitney Houston. That's it. You get in the car, you either gonna hear Going Up Yonder, or you gonna hear the Bodyguard soundtrack from the beginning to the end. That's it. She also liked the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack, of course, Whitney Houston. That used to be the cleanup music. She did have Thriller. Thriller came out in, I wanna say 82, and I was born in 83. So that was the music I was hearing when I was in the womb. And to this day, that's still my favorite record. Growing up, of course, it was Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder. Barbecues at Buchanan Park, a lot of barbecues would be here, you know what I'm saying, in front of my grandparents' home. Frankie Beverly and Mays.
G-Funk was big in his upbringing of how he approached music, right? You had the Roger Troutmans and stuff, how it was with the talk box and the synthesizers. And that's his niche, right? The synthesizer chords is his niche. That's his specific specialty.
My grandpa liked B.B. King. My grandma loved Luther Vandross. Up the street, my aunties and my Uncle Willie and Cardella, she liked the more New Edition and Guy and the R&B groups. He from Oakland, you know what I'm saying? He from East Oakland. He'll tell you that every day, all day, every day. You know, Too Short. You know, he liked reggae music too. So that was one of the only people that I knew that was really listening to music outside of music that was made in America. So that kind of opened my ears to a whole different type of palette.
Your SWV, your Jodeci's, things such as that is what kind of crafts that sound to make a Kev sound. It's all influence.
Shit, man, Greg, it was our boy. He played basketball. He actually introduced us to skating. Like, we used to go to adult skate. Him and his brother, they was dope on the skates. You have to be a certain age to get in, but we used to always go through with Greg. So he was actually used to teach us how to dance on skates and stuff. So we was actually getting the hang of it. And then he ended up skipping school on senior day and he drowned. I was at the crib. He was actually supposed to come and pick me up. I was a junior, he was a senior. And I had talked to him the night before. I'm like, hey bro, come and snatch me. He was like, bro, I got you. And I told that nigga, I'm like, bro, don't fake on me, bro, come and pick me up. I didn't go to the same high school as them. I went to Riverside and he was at Pitt. I was blowing his phone up that whole morning, like blowing him up. And then, so I found out like some hours later that he ended up drowning. To this day, I just feel like if I was there, I think we would be doing something different. Him jumping off a rock and shit like that, because I don't even really do no crazy ass shit like that. But I guess, you know, everybody got their time, so I guess it was just time for him to go.
So when we started doing the TV show, at first James Minor had asked me, because I had helped him out to, you know, we were like a Safeway, and I helped him out with his bags to his car. The first person I thought when he asked me was, I can't do this without Kev. It was called What's Happening on the East Side. It was out before us, and so we knew about it. Turns out James Minor was a really cool dude, and he would give people opportunity. We did that for years after that. Really no pay, we was just doing it for fun.
I got serious about music, I'll probably say...
When he met me. He got serious about music when he met me. But I first met Kevin when he worked at Brendan Theater. I've always felt like Pittsburgh has more in common with New York or Philly than we do with any city in the Bay Area. So I feel like when everybody was listening to like Mac Dre and Keek the Sneak and E40, we liked them, but like I feel like we was more on like Diplomat, State Property, Cassidy. So even the raps like was more East Coast than everybody else. One day I decided to go to DVC for school and he was there and I was taking the music production classes and I met this guy who brought me to his studio and he showed me the MPC and I kind of hollered at Kev and I think that's kind of what got it started. Oh, MPC is a drum machine. It's like the same one Dr. Dre used. Today people will just use like Fruity Loops or Machine, but this was like a box and it had like 16 pads.
So I didn't have the money at the time, so I would go up to the Guitar Center, just be up there playing on the stuff until the people said it was time to go.
Well, I learned at the studio with this guy I met, went there and made a few beats. And then I brought him to Kev. They was trash, but I brought him to Kev and I'm like, yo, the MPC, we should get one. We should, you know, get a studio going.
Had to save up our minimum wage paychecks.
Now we are some of the people that really made being proud to be from Pittsburgh a thing. It was a time that people wasn't proud to be from our city. It's a small city, not a lot going on when you compare it to somewhere else, like, you know, some of the bigger cities in the Bay. But we have a lot of pride there, you know what I mean? And we stick together. Pretty much because everybody who live there related, but at the end of the day, it is like a family feel. Pittsburgh has been the underdog, but there's a group of people in our life that always root for the underdog.
He got onto the rapping and started doing the music and the producing and everything, the beats. I remember him always being in the room, door closed, music blasting.
But he always had a sense of trying to hustle, trying to do better. Kevin has always been a hustler. He's always been somebody who got some kind of, I don't want to say it in a negative term, but he had some kind of scheme or some kind of hustle or some kind of play or move to get money.
How to make beats, but Kev just caught on right away. I feel like everything he does, he kind of gets obsessed with it and just gets it right away. No matter what it is, like, I'm sure if he wanted to fly a plane, he'd be flying it in a week. That's just the kind of person he is. But then he sits it down and just forgets about it after a while. Anything, I ain't gonna lie. He can do anything. He picked that up and just went crazy.
Did have his CD. I did like She Hurt But She Thick. Disrespectful song, but it was a catchy beat. So that was my memorable song off the album.
Like I said, I just remember being young and always hearing them doing music. I remember Lauren, she was pretty and she could sing. I just remember niggas coming in and out and music was slapping.
You felt this energy of his artistic ability. Somebody that had a sound that was so different from the area, that was so refreshing, was sampling mixed with synthesizer chords that had this melody to it.
Everybody went to Kev's house. And Kev would make the beats. He would make the beats for free. He'd be up all night. I would be there some nights. He'd be up 4:30 in the morning, making the beat, finishing the beat, make sure he finished his beat. Yeah, I was in Western Conference. I was in it, and it definitely was a group of different individuals, and we all brought something different. I definitely think that I brought more energy, not so much hypey, but it was definitely like a fun energy. I was always trying to part first mixtape, but Dante was there, and then after that, it started getting like Mingo and the different colored cast that was surrounded, that was known around the neighborhood. That was a good mix. They brought something different. We can't all be laughing, we can't all be joking. We need some people who are more serious for the people who want to hear that. So I definitely thought that was a good selection. And but yeah, including Lauren when she was like 16, bringing her on and showing her, because nobody tried to push up on Lauren. It was all just straight, okay, Lauren is with the group. She one of the fellas, and we all trying to get this money. We all trying to, make a sound. So that was, everybody in the group was cool.
P-World. When P-World came out, how did you feel once it finally came out on the radio?
I actually called the radio. I was driving. I think I was with either my son or I was with somebody, and I called the radio station, and I was pumping gas when I called the radio station, and I was so juiced that I got $50 worth of gas that I didn't mean to get. I only meant to get 15. Like, so $35 more gas that I tried to return. Like, I didn't want it. Like, you know, it was lightweight struggling out here, but you know. And then I talked to Big Von and everything at KMEL, and he, you know, got back on the radio and was like, "Thanks for Crook for calling in." I was like, "Bro, I'm not Gavin." Like, remember who we're talking to? Hey, pay for this gas or something.
And this is when you first heard it on the radio?
The very first time I heard it on the radio, yes.
Okay. What would you say that Kevin wanted out of life at that moment? I mean, at that time.
The first CD was probably the best marketing strategy that is out there. The first hit is for free. We giving the CD out for the first one for free. Now everybody in the neighborhood that know anybody in the neighborhood is slapping Western Conference. Everybody knows the big songs. Everybody knows Hurt But She Thick. Everybody knows Movie Hips. Everybody knows Academics. Everybody knows these songs. So the fact that everybody knows them, if you didn't have the CD, you had to figure out how you're going to get the CD. Either somebody was going to burn it for you, or you was going to have to go and buy it. And after a certain point, we started selling the CDs that we were burning, maybe 50 cents each CD. We started selling those for $5. So then it started becoming a big thing, so where we pushed that money back into the next CD, and then it started growing from there. And then we got consignment deals, and we got, you know, things like that. But the first hit's for free, and then people started rocking with it, going to little hood parties that we would go to. We was gonna go to the hood parties anyway, but hearing our song at the hood parties, you know what I'm saying? That was special. He would be working on these things and using his talent that he grew up with. I'm sure that he had training for, and to give that out for free afterwards, or trying to uplift the group, you know, that's what I said. Like, that's why I saw his gift right there. You know, using the talent that he had to train for. So with the cohesiveness of the conference, when everybody went off to school and did their thing, trying to get their education to move forward in their life, the conference became, at times, what I noticed, it would become more of to be tough. You know, everybody else was kind of more on moving forward, and it started become you know, be a tough guy type of deal. And the cohesiveness of the group, it just seemed, like I said, more of no direction. We're in Pittsburgh, and we're gonna be in Pittsburgh, which is cool if you want, you know, if that's what you want. But if you want to grow and be more, you have to do what, you know, Yasu, Kev, Gigi, and Lauren did. You have to grow. You have to grow mentally. You got to grow spiritually. You got to grow physically. You got to do all these things. And with some of the people who still were around, it just seems that, in my opinion, that they weren't doing that at the time. You know, at the time they weren't doing that, and the cohesiveness kind of got mixed up because some people are growing, some people are growing slower, and that's just kind of what I noticed, and that was my opinion of it. Oh yeah, you got 9 people in this group. It's gonna be some beef. It's gonna be problems. Like it's gonna be problems, but it's to work it out. That's the thing. It's to work it out, and then when you don't work it out, know to walk away. You know what I'm saying? Because what I will say is that it is the backstory of a lot of people is, you know, messed up, but nobody came to blows. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all kept it player, like, and it's some like egregious acts, but nobody ever came to blows. And you know what I'm saying? It's because that we did share a moment in time together, and no matter what it is, no matter what the problem is, that's still my brother. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's Kev, Mingo, Kellen, Yasu, Gigi, D Will, Lauren, myself. I'm gonna add Dante, and I'm gonna just say my brother, who was always around, even though he wasn't a member, he was always there. CJ Story was always around, and I'll just say that because he would be influencing records even if he wasn't actually on the record.
As a producer and visionary, came up with all the ideas and the concepts for the songs and stuff, you know, who should go first and different stuff like that, skits and things like that.
Like, I would have 20, 25 people in the house that she's never met coming in recording, just random ass niggas from Oakland and San Francisco and Richmond and wherever, all over throughout the Bay Area, Pittsburgh, of course, Antioch. And my cousin D. Willis brought this up to me. He was like, nobody else's mom would have allowed that. If they're here, they're safe. They're not in the streets, they're not getting in any type of trouble. They're here, they're doing art, they're recording music, you know. Of course, you know, they might be a little bit loud. Some of them might come in smelling like some weed or something.
The P World song was, man, still to this day, if you're from Pittsburgh or from the Bay Area, I've ran into people that's never lived in Pittsburgh but know the P World song.
I think he just wanted to win. And I think that he wanted to spread a message from where he was from's perspective. You know, like nobody knew anything much about Pittsburgh like that on the radio.
The conference, we kept it lit, and I think the biggest thing that came out of that was pushing our city. Pittsburgh at that time, whatever it was known for, it was complete negativity. And we wasn't looked at as cats that nobody wanted to vibe with. Now, it's a name to be reckoned with. It's a name that people, other big artists from the Bay always shout out Pittsburgh now. And I think that we was on the front line of making sure that it was something that we had to be respected. You gotta respect us like you gotta respect everybody else. I'm gonna respect you, you gonna respect me. We from P-World, you know, we're not ashamed of it. And if you don't like it, we can see what's happening. We had radio play all across the Bay and in LA.
I was low-key like the manager type. I did all the networking, like me, and I was just so cool with everybody. So, but then Kev threw me on a couple songs. I did the hooks. So I did the hooks on P-World song, the original one and the remix. I did the hook. Kev actually wrote the hook. He wrote the hook. So he was like, bro, I like your style, your little rap voice, whatever. So shit, it took us all day to record. I was in that thing, nervous in the mud. But he wrote the hook, I rapped it, and then shit, it was history from there. Like one of the biggest songs in the P.
P-World, P-World, P-P-P-P-World, P-World, P-World, P-P-P-P-World.
From the playlist, the whole west to the mids, the low west, fully and the rest of my niggas. Parkside, west found to downtown. This is what everybody yell around town.
P-World, P-World, P-P-P-P-World, P-World, P-World, P-P-P-P-World.
Album store soon. P-World stand up. I got out of town rippers. My hometown was baby hating that I pick him up in the bar, schnurb, and I take him back. Only use them for they body and cash. If you ain't schnurb, you probably know somebody that has. It's a fact. Most of these hoes is runners.
When we left, me and Kevin, I think that was like, it was a little bit of a vacuum. It was like a leadership void, like it unraveled on its own. And I always wonder if we had really stuck around and been like, we just gonna go 100% on this dream, no plan B's, how it would have been.
For the longest, it was just like, it doesn't seem real. Because like I said, I never thought that I would have to bury my mother.